3, 2, 1.
Just like night, Carl.
I think we're live. It says we're live. Hi, everyone. It's been months. I don't know how many months. I think it's been like 8.
Yeah.
I have friends here with me. This is Bertha, James, and Steph.
Hello.
Hello.
And I have them here because I don't know if this is going to be boring or entertaining, and I didn't want the chance of this being boring, so there are people here. So basically what this is going to be is I recently was just thinking about, because I use tier maker and bracket fights a lot when I'm bored because it's a very easy way to entertain myself. So I was thinking, I might as well stream one of these. I think it could be fun to stream some different stuff. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be doing other than like a few Cartoon Network Nickelodeon rankings, and also I don't know how long this is going to go. So we're just going to start from here. I found a Cartoon Network programming ranking list on Tier Maker. So we're just going to start with this. How do you guys feel?
Well, it's about your taste and opinion on cartoons. I would just add that little thing, but it's gonna be fun.
This is like, we're not all judging these. This is just my opinion. Again, I just have them here because I feel like I would be very boring if I didn't have somebody here with me. So
we're here for the funny commentary, I guess.
We're just here for window dressing. That's what we are. Maybe a little bit of light banter.
Look, we got people in the chat. We got Frowny, and Bertha is also in the chat. So I hope it sounds decent, because I don't know how this sounds right now. I did test recordings earlier, and everything sounded fine, so...
I'm just letting Jesus take the wheel on my end.
Queen Fresh Pam. I love that spray. It's my favorite. That's my favorite kind of cooking spray.
it really makes the food not stick like a champ.
To hear, hang on.
It says you're hard to hear. I mean, you sound fine on my end. Maybe it's because
maybe I just need to talk a little louder. Maybe
I can turn you up a little bit. Let's see.
Maybe.
There we go. Say something.
I've got a lovely bunch of coconuts.
That's very specific.
It's a song.
I never heard of it.
They sing it in Lion King when Zazu's in the little bird jail with Scar.
Well, it's different in Spanish.
Steph, what noise was that?
Oh, cough.
Oh, I couldn't tell what that was because you kind of glitched out in the middle, so it sounded like... like, I couldn't tell what noise that was.
Oh my goodness.
Man, my cough is glitching out. Maybe we are turning into AI or something.
Andrew Tate was right.
I'm growing 2 more fingers. Oh my goodness.
Oh no.
Let me tweet out real quick that we are starting.
Queen Fresh Pam. Hello.
What'd you say to me?
There's a person named Queen Fresh Pam here.
Yeah, I said there's a friend named Pam.
Hello.
Pam, again, it's my favorite kind of cooking spray.
Gets my little joke. Hey, nice. Full of culture in here. I like it.
We are starting now.
We begin the thing.
I was saying that out loud because I use tap to talk on my phone a lot when I'm lazy.
I'm gonna do it. Sorry.
Bless you.
Bless you.
Thank you.
All right, so I thought at first this was chronological because I saw 2 Stupid Dogs, and then I saw 16, and I'm like, okay, this is not chronological order. Oh, it's alphabetical. It's alphabetical. Okay.
It's starting with numbers. All right.
Okay. So I have not seen 2 Stupid Dogs since I was like 7. So I've seen more clips of 2 Stupid Dogs than I have seen a full episode, like, in a long time. So
I recently rewatched a lot of episodes, and In fact, it actually wasn't a Cartoon Network show at first.
It
TBS
wasn't?
show. Oh, it was a
Well,
TBS show.
Really?
Or
Because I
rather,
thought, because wasn't
Donovan
it paired
Cook
with
actually,
the...
pitched it.
It was paired with that
Donovan
Secret
Cook
Squirrel
actually,
show, wasn't it?
Yeah, but Donovan, I think Donovan Cook created it, pitched it for TBS first, and Cartoon Network decided to pick it up. And that was kind of
Okay, so it
thing that
didn't
led
start
to
on TBS. It was pitched to TBS.
it was pitched to it, and then Cartoon Network picked it up.
Yeah, I remember watching like a fair bit of it, like when I was young as well. I don't know how I'd rank it, but
That's what I'm saying. This is why I have the never watched / don't remember enough, because I skimmed through some of this. There are some shows I have not seen since they aired on TV, so I don't really have an opinion.
It personally is an A for me because it's one of those shows where you watched it as a kid and you think it's funny just because it's two dogs being dumbasses. But as you watch it again, it's got those little subtle adult jokes like the shoe, take off your shoe.
Oh no, that's the bit I've seen the most, is that they go to like a strip club or something, which I am amazed they were allowed to do that even back then. Like, it's not even subtle, it is straight up a strip club.
Or there was a bit where they're at the drive-in and then like all the cars are fucking like rocking back and forth.
Oh, because I think of the Animaniacs bit with that, like when at the drive-in theater and like a mom and her son walks by as they're like hyperactively like bouncing up and down inside the car, and it looks like someone's having sex in the car.
Two Super Dogs did the same joke, but it was like the whole like drive-in was.
Well, it was paired with that Secret Squirrel reboot, wasn't it? It was like the New Adventures of Secret Squirrel or something, which I actually remember that more than I remember Two Stupid Dogs.
It was a super secret squirrel.
Yeah.
Fun fact: it's supposed to be a third segment. That was supposed to be a revival of Chattanooga Cats, but that one didn't make it past the cutting room.
I mean, that's kind of like one of those Hanna-Barbera shows that has really faded into obscurity. So
yeah.
I mean, you got Jellystone to thank for bringing it back.
I mean, Jellystone referenced things that have not been thought of since they aired, is the other thing. What was it? What was that, like, dinosaur character that appears only in one scene? Was it like... It was like a therapy session with, like, Top Cat or something?
The Valley of the Dinosaurs.
Valley of the Dinosaurs, yeah. It was like a late 70s, early 80s cartoon that I do not think anybody has thought of since it aired.
That is a deep cut. Jeez.
16? I give a B. I give 16 a B. I haven't seen it in a while, but I have gone back to it a couple times in the last, like, 6-7 years. And I do like it. Again, I don't know how much of it was even aired in the States, because we got it, I think, the year or two before it ended when it came here, because the only reason it even came here was because of the popularity of Total Drama. So,
Yeah.
Well, I think there's a couple reasons that came out. That was one of them, but I think the other one was the writer's strike that happened in the late 2000s.
oh yeah, that did happen around that time. That would have been like 2008, 2009.
They had to import a lot of Canadian shows.
Well, that would
it's just
that would
so
actually
good.
explain a lot why they had like 4 or 5 new like Canadian shows just out of nowhere air on Cartoon Network.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember, like, was this a show that got like heavily edited?
I feel like it did, because I know there were episodes that never even aired here. Like, I think there was like an episode about periods, I think was like one of the episodes, and I don't think that aired here.
Yeah, it's like I know Total Drama had that happen, so I figured it probably happened with this.
Total Drama is the only show I can think of where they censored the censor beeps. Which I've never heard of. Like, I've never heard of a show having to censor its own censorship.
What?
Yeah, like, you remember the bit where Lindsay cusses out Heather?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, in the Canadian, that's just a long-ass censor beep for like a good 10 seconds. And in the American version of the episode, they had the actress just record new dialogue over it, which is what they did with any time they censor beeped something, was they would just have one of the actors come in and redub it with like other dialogue.
I feel like that joke would have worked better with the giant, like long since.
Let me see. Pup named Scooby-Doo. Pup named Scooby. I have to think. I give it a B. I like Pup Named Scooby-Doo. I think it's charming.
It was a fun show, I think.
I have no memory.
I love the whole running gag of Fred always blaming Red Herring for whatever the case of the episode was.
I remember an episode where I think don't they like tell him like you have to go, they like give him a bet or something where they tell him like he has to go a whole day without blaming Red Herring for something, and then at the end of the episode it is actually Red Herring that was the monster.
That was brilliant.
It was like the one time Red Herring actually was the monster.
Man,
Like that's the one thing I remember from the show, aside from the strange animation courtesy of Kennedy Cartoons.
Yeah, it's one of the more unique Scooby-Doo shows in terms of its animation and its art style. Because I remember, wasn't Kennedy that company that infamously did like 2 or 3 episodes of Tiny Toons that are considered like some of the weirdest animated ones?
They did a few other episodes of Tiny Toons. Yeah, they did do quite a few of them, including, I think, the first one that made it to air, Looney Beginning.
Yeah, all I know is that I think those are considered, like, fairly mixed episodes. And I think it's because of the art style, from what I remember.
I personally find the art style charming, but that's just me. And, I'm a bit of a trash enthusiast, though.
Now, I also want to keep in mind with people watching, when I do tier makers, I don't usually order them in, like, what show I prefer on the bracket. So, like, if I put Batman Beyond here, that doesn't mean that I think 16 is better. I'm just putting it in the B because I just overall give it that score. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like it gets too complicated for me when I actually attempt to rank these like individually by the bracket. So for like, if you're wondering why, like, well, why is that show like right there and why is that show right there, I'm like, I'm not basing these specifically on like what I think is the best B tier Cartoon Network show. No, it's just I'm putting it in B because I think it's a B.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen one person do that with their ranking.
I've seen a few people do that with tier makers before, where they like rank every show in order, like by the bracket. And I just feel like that would take too long for me personally with some of these. Mm-hmm. But I'd say next Adventure Time. That's A teetering on S for me.
Same.
Adventure Time is interesting in that I never watched a lot of it until the year that it ended, because I don't know, I had watched like episodes sprinkled here and there, but I never actually watched the show in full until I think it was like the month or two before the show was ending. I had just decided, you know what, it's on Hulu. I'm just gonna binge like a big chunk of it, and I watched. I have a friend who's a big Adventure Time fan, and he actually gave me a list of, like, all the important episodes and, like, the best, standalone episodes. So I watched all of those. So technically I've never seen the entire show, but I've basically seen all the important story beats and what are considered, like, the best episodes. And I really like it. It's a very, very good show. I understand why it was on as long as it was. And even when it came out, I understood why. I did like it when I did watch it, but I just never...
It started the whole, instead of episodic, have a story in...
It was a serialized show. This is one of those shows where I also put it in A too, but it's one of those where I didn't necessarily watch a lot of it. I'm in the same vein as Michael here, but I never really went back to watch it. But I do know what little I've seen, it's quality.
Well, because I think it was one of those things where if I hadn't sat down and watched a big chunk of it, it would probably be in B, like a high B for me, like a B+. But I don't know, like, now that I have watched it, I'd say it's an A teetering on S tier for me. I really like it. I'd say it is one of the best shows Cartoon Network has made. And I really liked, what was it, Distant Lands? That was the HBO Max, like, spin-off ones.
I think so.
Yeah, I really liked those, too. I am very curious about that Fiona and Cake spin-off that they're doing, because I think that comes out this year, from what they said.
All I gotta say is Nickelodeon, you messed up passing on it.
Oh, I
This-
find
this
it
could've
crazy
been
that
your baby.
I find it so crazy that I think they rejected that show like 2 or 3 times.
And they're just kicking themselves in the foot. you know?
Well, I think it's the other thing of, if that was on Nickelodeon, I have a very strong feeling I don't think it would have lasted nearly as long.
It probably wouldn't. It wouldn't have gotten the same.
No,
star treatment.
I've seen a lot of people discuss like what could have happened if the show was on Nick, and I don't know. There's something in me, which is funny because I feel like it could have done well, but it also might not have done well, because at the time, think about Nickelodeon at that time, 2010. There wasn't a lot of notable animation on
It was
that
two
during that
dominating
period.
shows. It was SpongeBob and iCarly.
Yeah,
Wasn't one of
there-
those? It was doomed to fail.
Animation-wise, there really wasn't a lot of content, and I don't know. Here's the other thing. Nickelodeon has never really done, like, 11-minute episodes, because Adventure Time a lot of the time would just be standalone, like, little 11-minute episodes. And I feel like if it was on Nickelodeon, they would have constantly been given... They would have probably forced the show to be 20 minutes each. Like 2 episodes per pack. Because Adventure Time, whenever it was on, I remember it always being like individual episodes, not like 2 11 minutes in a 20-minute period.
Now, wasn't this the show that pioneered the whole 11-minute format?
Yeah, that and Regular Show and Gumball, because all 3 of those came out, I think, the same year. I think Gumball might have been a few months later.
I think it was 2009 for Adventure Time, 2010 for Regular Show, and then 2011 for Gumball, maybe?
Yeah.
My childhood.
It was like concurrent years.
Almost Naked Animals, I have never watched, nor do I care.
Ew!
I've never watched it, nor do I care.
I watched it many times. I regret it.
Gumball, I'm putting in B, but that's a high B. Like, that's a B plus teetering on an A. Gumball's something where I've watched quite a bit of it, but I haven't watched a lot. I think I've watched maybe like 30 episodes of Gumball.
Gumball's one of those shows where when it came out, like, initially I wasn't sold on it, but as I watched more of it, and I actually have my ex to thank for getting me into it. It
I
was
used to be
brilliant.
afraid of it, and then I was like, oh, bizarre shows like Regular Show and Adventure Time and Gumball. Oh, yes, yes, yes. And then it was...
What's funny is I've heard like that a lot of character designs are actually like failed character designs for advertising.
I'd believe it. I'd believe that with the mixed media.
That's what sold me was the mixed media, but also I think later on they really dive deep into the meta humor, which it works in a lot of cases, but in other times it falls flat. But I still say the best example is the episode where the Wattersons are asked to do a commercial for Joyful Burger, but they don't want to because it's a sellout thing. But then like they are in so much of a destitute where the animation starts like screwing up, and then like they go like revert back to the sketchbook drawings on a napkin. Even they lose the voice acting, like the direction.
Oh, yeah. I know that one.
All the
It works
CG
for
starts
Gumball.
messing up. You go back to
You know what it
storyboards.
doesn't work for?
What?
Powerpuff Girls. They wanted to be like Gumball when they did the reboot, and he's like, "No, you're not Gumball." Shush.
I never got a Gumball vibe from the Powerpuff Girls.
Well, I never got a Gumball vibe from it because it's not funny. So...
Yeah, no, they tried to be, and it failed.
You know, Gumball to me is like perfect YouTube clip compilation comedy. And I don't mean that as a negative. I mean, that show has so many jokes, like rapid fire jokes throughout every episode. It's one of those shows that is just kind of perfect to have long out of context YouTube comedy compilations. Like, it's why clips of that show go viral constantly, because that show has such good comedy that you can condense very well into like a minute-long video.
Who remembers the woke bit with a Gumball like weaponizing his
Oh,
social justice
the
warrior?
privilege.
Yes.
Every time I see that bit, I like the version with the Vine boom. Every time he does it.
Everything's better with a Vine boom.
Apple and Onion, I unfortunately have not watched a lot, but I have seen clips of it, and I have laughed very hard at it when I've seen clips of it. I do really need to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Atomic Betty, I haven't seen since I was 10, and I don't remember liking it, so...
Oh,
I have
used
no
to watch
knowledge
it. I
of either
have
of
no
those shows.
memory. Oh god.
Baby Looney Tunes, I watched as a kid, but I have a very strong feeling if I watched it now, I probably wouldn't like it. And I've seen clips of it as an adult, and yeah, no, I don't want to rank it though, because again, I haven't seen it in years, like probably like 15 plus years. So
It's a funny thing because it started off as just an advertising vehicle for like baby products.
well, yeah, because they
I
had
know
baby
that
Mickey
because,
Mouse and like a bunch of baby characters on baby products.
It's just the only real like I watched it too, but I think it's okay. I think it's probably a C.
That's the
Like,
thing, like,
judging
I
overall.
want to, like, rank it and give it, like, a C, like, a low C, but again, I just, like, I haven't seen it in almost 20 years, so I feel like I
It
can't
works.
fairly rank it.
It works for the audience that it's intended for, and maybe the parents. You know, it's kind of lighthearted and cute, but it's just not. It's not something you're gonna go out of your way to watch. But I remember my brother loved it. Like his, I would still remember like his first bedroom had like little baby Sylvesters and stuff all over the walls, like those little wall clings from back in the day. So he liked it growing up, and that's probably why I don't hate it as much as other people do. So,
It's, okay, Batman Brave and the Bold, that's A. Batman Brave and the Bold, I have stood by. I mean, Batman the Animated Series is the best Batman show, but Brave and the Bold is fucking close. Like, really close. Like, Brave and the Bold, to me, is one of the most charming animated shows ever made. I love that show so much. It is such a good, like, tribute to the Silver Age of comics, and I love that it constantly uses new heroes and new villains.
wasn't what's his name the Music Meister in this one?
Yeah, that was Neil Patrick Harris. It's, like, one of the
Neil
best
Patrick Harris,
episodes
that's
of the
what I was
show.
That's the only
Oh,
episode
shit.
I've seen, and if I'm judging it based on that, yeah, it's an A.
Oh no, it's a great show. I have told people, like, if you don't want like a serious superhero show or like a completely serious, watch Brave and the Bold, cuz it's funny without trying to be funny a lot of the time. Like, it's not making cracks and jokes. It's funny when it's not being funny, which makes it funny.
It's kind of like what, like the.
It's
Adam
very
West show?
dry, and it's intentionally cheesy.
It's kind of like the Adam West cartoon.
Yes,
Not
it's
cartoon,
like the Adam West
that's
show,
what
but honestly better, in my opinion, and I like the Adam West show. But it takes the Adam West show and gives it, like, 10 times the creative freedom they had in the 60s.
I might have to watch this after the streams.
Oh, it's so good. I can't recommend it enough. It's so good. Ben 10, that's an A. If we're talking the original Ben 10, that's an A for me. I still go back to the original Ben 10 quite a bit. I really, really like Ben 10. I think it's that perfect middle ground where it's not too annoying, because I was kind of afraid after not seeing it for years that I would find it very annoying. And there are things that annoy me about it, but for the most part, I'd say the pros very much outweigh any cons I have with it.
Nice.
Like, I like the villains. I like how creative it is. It's science fiction. Science fiction to me is like the most creative genre. You can do so much with science fiction. And also, it's a blockbuster comedy. That's how I treat Ben 10. It's it's very over the top, it's very cartoony, but it's also very comic booky without actually being based on a comic book.
I'm just gonna say this for all the Ben 10s. I've never sat down and watched them. I just saw the advertising, so it looks fun, but I've just never sat
Like,
down and watched it.
I don't know. I really like Ben 10. I still think it holds up really, really well. Alien Force, I have not seen in a long time, and I remember thinking it was bleh. I remember being honestly very let down by it when I was a kid because I was kind of annoyed that they made it a lot more serious than the original Ben 10.
The contrary, I was like, oh, because I used to hate anything with children. I'm like, oh my god, finally they grew up, and I was aiming for Ben 10 to be serious, and every like funny stuff in the first series, I was like a little annoyed, or every fight with Gwen and Ben, it was like, ew. And in this one, there's not that. They're mature, so I was able to enjoy Ben 10 even more.
Oh, so, again, for me, that's what I didn't like, was that they took away a lot of the comedy, and they just made it a generic kind of action show for me, which is why I didn't like it. I don't know. I've never gone back to it because I was honestly disappointed with it, though I stuck with it for a long time when I was a kid, because I think I just kept waiting for it to get better, and after season 1, I think I just got to a point where I'm like, this isn't for me. Like, I don't know, like this. Because when I was a kid, I only liked action cartoons if they were funny or if they had comedy.
Well, you were a kid. Right now, you're not.
Yeah, but I still really like Ben 10. Like, I still prefer, like, action with comedy in it. But some of my favorite shows are straight action shows.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, oh, that's weird.
Which is funny because I remember I tried watching Ultimate Alien 2 years ago and I hated it. So
I prefer Alien Force and Ultimate.
I don't want to rank Ultimate Alien because I only watched like 2 or 3 episodes, but oh, it was bad. I did not like it. I was very annoyed, and I thought it was ugh.
I liked it a lot.
Alien Force. I'm not gonna rank either of them because again, I haven't seen either of them in a long time, or I haven't seen enough. But if I was gonna rank Alien Force off my current mindset of it, I'd give it probably like a low C. Like,
I think the only Benson that I don't like is that reboot with the weird. Because I like Omniverse too. That the other.
Omniverse is going in S.
I know.
I fucking love Omniverse so much. So fucking much. Omniverse, I don't get the hate for Omniverse. I really don't. I really, really don't. I like Omniverse is to me like the perfect Ben 10 show. It does everything so well.
It's weird when they switch it out the art style like that.
I don't think an art style is a fair reason to not like a show.
It's not bad. No, it's not bad. But it was just like, oh.
No, that's the thing that annoys me is anytime I see people shit on that show, it's always just about the art style. And I'm like, but an art style is not a reason to think a show's bad. Like, that has nothing to do with the plot or the characters or the writing. It's just how the show looks. Like, I don't know. I've never gotten that. I really don't. And again, I've never seen anyone actually say why they don't like it, other than I don't like the art style. Which, like, I don't like there are some shows I don't want to watch because I don't like how they look, but I don't think that's a fair judgment of the show's quality.
Mm-hmm. I'm glad you're aware.
Yep.
Like, I don't think a show's aesthetic should be the reason to think a show is bad. Because, again, that's all I ever fucking hear with Omniverse is they just don't like how it looks. And, like, it's nothing about the quality of the show itself.
I really got no horse in this race again because it's Ben 10. I never watched it, really. But I can agree that, there's some shows out there that are just aesthetically, hideous, but the writing is top notch.
I think Mr. Meaty is genuinely one of my favorite Nickelodeon shows, and I've never met anyone that liked it. So
it's growing on me.
I love Mr. Meaty like so much.
As a kid, it creeped the hell out of me, but watching it again, it's like this is my
Oh,
sense of
even as a
humor.
kid,
Yeah,
I
might
loved
give
it.
a
It was
chance.
like one of my favorite shows
I
on
was a scaredy
Nickelodeon.
cat growing up. It scared the
Remember-
shit out of me. But
Like I remember, like as a kid, I don't really think I thought much about it, but like I remember like watching, I guess like a couple episodes like later, like when I got older. I'm just like I really don't get like what all the hate for the show was. I thought it was really funny.
I've again, that's kind of a show where anytime I see people shit on it, it's just because of how it looks. Like, I don't know. Again, like,
I think it's the fact that it's puppets. is what made
let's
it-
see.
People hate it. But
I don't like that they have Batman Beyond out of alphabetical order here. But actually, I might have put it there by accident when I moved it before, but I don't know. I just kept noticing it was in the wrong spot. The Ben 10 reboot. I haven't watched it in a while. I think I watched like 7 or 8 episodes of it when I watched it. It's fine. I don't know. I think it's fine. Everyone tells me that it gets better later on, but I thought it was fine from what I saw.
yes,
I prefer it a lot
Very
more
rich.
over the other reboots that were coming out during that period of time for Cartoon Network.
Mm-hmm. I feel it's kind of heartless because of that.
Batman Beyond, we're actually currently watching that. I'd say currently I'd give it a B. It's not my favorite Batman show. I do like the aesthetic of it, and I like the lead, and I do like some of the ideas it has, but again, I haven't finished it. Beware the Batman I have not watched since it was on, and I remember liking it, but I only watched like 2 or 3 episodes, and it's been like 7 years. Camp Laszlo's S. Camp Laszlo is an
Yes.
S tier. That is an S tier show. That show
Yes.
is so... Oh, that show's so
I
good.
love you. Yes.
That show is peak.
That is a comfort show for me. I love that show so much. And I think of during that period of time when that show was on, that was the show I watched more than I think any other show when it was on. And even now, whenever I go back to it, I still think that's a great show.
This is one of my favorite top 5 favorite cartoons of all time. Let's just saying that because I'm a big Joe Murray. But
Oh,
part of
I
it
mean,
is,
Rocco and this are like almost neck and neck on my favorite animated shows.
it's definitely 2 of the best for their respective channels. But funny thing about this is I remember hearing Tom Kenny once talk about how he had the most fun on this show than most of the other shows he's worked on.
I'd believe
That
it
includes
because he's the best
I
character
would.
on the show. I believe.
And what's funny is I remember him talk about how Lumpus voice is basically a mix of W.C. Fields and Richard Nixon.
I can see the Richard Nixon. But no, Lumpus is like one of the reasons that's one of my favorite shows, like one of my favorite animated shows, because I just love that character. I mean, again, I love every character on that show. Well, because when I talk about Omniverse, it was the same thing. I loved everything they did on Omniverse. I loved how they did a lot of the characters. I liked how it felt like it was the most fun they had with Ben 10, because they were able to literally just throw in as much shit from all the other shows as much as they wanted and just do whatever they wanted with it. Omniverse just felt like it had the most creative freedom of all the Ben 10 shows, and also it ran shockingly long. It had 100 episodes.
Little fun fact also for Laszlo. It actually started off as a book, like children's book, Murray was gonna write. They decided later on to just make it a series for Cartoon Network. I'm glad he did.
I know, and I'm still mad it has no DVD.
No DVD, but
It's also not on HBO Max.
What the fuck?
Oh no!
HBO
Like
Max,
of all the
get
shows
the-
that have not been put on HBO Max, Laszlo makes me the most upset. Like
Yes,
they
get
have
your
a
shit
big
together,
chunk of the
HBO
Cartoon
Max.
Network shows, but they're still missing that.
Like anyone who knows me knows I'm a big your toy collector, whatever. One of my most prized possessions I have in my entire collection is whenever the show first came out, like 2005ish or so, made like a little bobblehead plush set of the Jelly Cabin. Years and years later, I finally got one on eBay for $60, and I still got them in my room right now on my shelf, just I get to look at him every night before I go to bed. It's amazing.
I have to look at Laszlo before I go to bed every night.
No, I look at Clam, dude. He's the GOAT, man. Clam is my favorite character in the entire show, and no one can change my mind.
I did poison mushroom. I always think.
Happy Boxing Day in Canada.
Wait, Captain Planet. I'm between C and D with Captain Planet, because
I unironically love this show.
Captain Planet does not hold up, in my opinion. I remember, was it me, you, and Donnie, Steph, that like watched like 5 or 6 episodes like a few years ago, just like on a whim?
Yeah, and we were just like ripping into it.
It
so
does
fucking
not.
badly.
It does not hold up. There are elements of it I think that hold up, but as a show, I do not think it holds up very well. But it is damn funny. Like it is so funny for it's funny for the wrong reasons. I'm between C and D. I'm gonna give it C because I think it's a fun riff. Like
it's funny because the villains just happen to destroy the environment, not for any particular reason.
They just hate the environment. None of the villains have any backstory. They just all hate the environment. Also, Steph, remember the election episode that like eerily predicted the 2016 election?
Oh my god!
Like the episode that eerily like had so many mirrors to the 2016 election.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I remember
the one episode I remember the most is the HIV episode. Where
the AIDS episode. Well, yeah, the AIDS episode is like the most memorable episode.
It's like a basketball player in high school.
Played by Neil Patrick Harris, which before it was...
Going back to Batman.
No, and that makes the AIDS thing, like, more... I'm wondering how Neil Patrick Harris felt about that, because that was before Neil Patrick Harris had come out as gay. So yeah. I wonder how he felt about that at the time.
What I remember was like it had one villain who was trying to spread misinformation.
Yeah, Verminous Scum, played by Jeff Goldblum, by the way.
Oh my god! I remember I think like one of the things in that show was like the main goddess lady was like.
Oh yeah, Gaia, who's completely useless.
Yeah, she never did anything herself. She just had like 5 teenagers like do all.
Gaia was the Jean Grey of her show. Let's put it that way.
Chopsocky Chooks, I have not watched since it aired. I remember thinking it was okay. It's probably bad now, but I don't care to go back to it. So
I look at those character designs. I'm just like, nah, I don't.
I thought they were fish for the longest time. I wasn't until like a few episodes in that they were like, oh yeah, they're chickens. I'm like, they're chickens? I thought they were supposed to be...
title. Chook is another name for a chicken.
Yeah, but everybody in the show looks like fish. They look like fish people. They don't look like chickens. Like every time I have ever looked like... No, I need to look this up right now. Like, every time I have ever looked at those designs, they look like fish! They do not look like chickens to me. Like, every time I have ever looked, especially the one on the right, it looks like a fish to me.
Honestly, this show to me is Cartoon Network's answer to Butt Ugly Mark.
The fucking girl, like, the girl character looks like a bowling pin.
That's what I'm saying. Again, they don't look like chickens. Which it didn't help that the villain was also like a fish. Like that also didn't help.
I also don't expect the villain to be a cow. A little Chick-fil-A beef.
Oh my god. What's next? Chowder, that's A teetering on S.
Yeah, the show is so good.
Yeah, no, Chowder is a show that gets better with age. Like, and even as a kid, that show is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that show came out like my freshman year of high school, and like everyone in my drama club loved it.
High school. I was in primary school.
I was 11 when that show came
I was
out.
I was about 14, I think. 13,
I was in
13.
5th grade.
It's definitely an S. I just love all the It's one of those during this time, like around the mid 2000s, and I guess Laszlo and whatnot go into this group too. It was one of the best shows that were on a network in a particularly dark time.
Oh no. Well, here's the thing. That Chowder was the show that Chowder and Flapjack were basically the last two animated shows before Cartoon Network said fuck it and just stopped doing animation for a while and was doing almost exclusively live action shows.
Again, because of that writer's strike we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, and Chowder to me is, I mean, one, it's C.H. Greenblatt's best show. I love Jellystone, but Chowder is easily the best show that he made.
Chowder just has...
Harvey Beaks is also good, but I haven't seen enough of it. But no, Chowder... Chowder's one of those things where it's a fantastic ensemble. The three leads are great. Mung Dahl's like one of my favorite characters during that period of Cartoon Network. A lot of side characters are really good too. I think Endive and Panini are great. Panini is like one of the funniest child characters I've ever seen in a show, in my opinion. And even going back to it as an adult, I forgot how legitimately good the child actors on that show are.
Yes.
Like, actually, like, perfectly on par with the adult actors on that show, especially Dwight Schultz as Mung, who's the funniest actor and character on that show. Yeah, no, Chowder is just moments. Yeah. Like, Chowder is like borderline, like just a perfect Cartoon Network show to me. It's so good.
There's just so many little moments. Like, I don't really remember full episodes. I just remember more of the jokes. Like, I remember one episode what's his name? Schnitzel was taking Chowder to the bank.
Oh my god!
Last line. And excuse me, would you like?
Would
some
you?
money?
Would I? Would you?
Would I?
Would you?
Would I?
No, I quote that more than any other line in that show, because anytime I have ever gone up to someone who go, "Would you care for a free lollipop?" Everyone I have ever known like knows immediately what that is, and everyone does the "Would I? Would you?"
It's still my favorite character in Gotcha, though. Mainly just because I saw Aqua Teens first. Any character Dana Snyder plays, I associate with Shake, so I just think that's just Master Shake in a Mastodon suit.
One of the, I know, like I remember like one joke from the show was just like they completely ran out of like animation budgets. Like,
no animation.
It was just the voice actors doing a car wash and live.
Yeah,
that's the second show we've talked about today to have that kind of gag along with Gumball. I just realized that.
Oh, I guess that the next one, because we got a lot more shit, so we should probably tone down some of the talking. We've got, how many more do we have left? 3, 6, 9, 12, 14. Wait, did I do that? 3, 6, 9, 12, 14. Yeah, 14, 28, 42, 56, 70. Yeah, no, we've got a lot.
Well, in all fairness, some of us who probably don't have a lot to say on it.
Yeah, so next one is Clarence, I am sad Clarence did not get the recognition it did. It lasted longer than I thought it did, because I looked it up not too long ago. It lasted, I think, like 4 years? Like 3-4 years? That show is nostalgic in a way that I have not seen many kid shows do, in that it's not nostalgic in that it references things through your childhood. It's nostalgic in that it references things that I haven't thought about since I was a kid. Like, things that you do when you go to the grocery store. And I'm like, oh, you remember those little ticket things that would be on, like, the side for coupons at a grocery store? And, like, as a kid, you'd, like, pull them all out. I'm like, I remember that. Like little things. The show makes you nostalgic for little things that you don't think about in the moment until you remember, oh my god, I did that as a kid. Like,
aww.
That show is so good at having moments like that, and also it's very funny. Like, very, very funny. I'm very sad that show did not get as much recognition as I think it did. I think the last few years it's been getting more recognition, but I'm sad it didn't, like, at the time it had come out, because I remember that was another show, I think, around the time it came out, there were a lot of people who were shitting on it because of the art style, or they didn't like the main character.
I need to give this one a watch.
Oh, that show is also very progressive for the time it came out. It was, I think, one of the... I don't remember if the gay marriage episode happened before or after Stevens. Because I remember at the time they had like two lesbian characters, and it was a main character, and I think it was either like right before or right after the Steven Universe episode they had a gay wedding episode with those two characters.
I have really no knowledge of the show except that one of the characters looks like Steve from Minecraft.
Huh.
Next, Class of 3000 shockingly holds up better than I thought it would. Because I remember me and Steph, was it me, you, and I forget who else? Like me, you, and I think a couple other people like watched a few episodes of it a couple years ago.
Yeah, I was there for that. I don't remember who the other people were, but
I remember we had just watched it because we were just like going through old shows and like seeing how well they held up. And when we got to Class of 3000, we were all like really surprised how good it is.
Yeah, it's like...
It's really funny, like really, really funny, and it's got a great. Again, I mean, it's one of those things with a lot of good Cartoon Network shows is usually they have really good ensembles. Class of 3000 is really no exception. It's a great ensemble, and there's I remember what was the joke that had us all laughing super hard? It was Jennifer Hale's character, the blonde crazy girl.
Oh yeah, it's like that one kid like said like my life ain't got no meaning now, and then she's just like,
oh, your life had no meaning before. That's what it was. I remember we had to literally stop pause the episode for like a good minute because we were laughing so hard at that line.
That was so freaking
that was
funny.
So unnecessarily savage. Also, the music. I mean, it's Andre 3000. I mean, it's gonna be good music no matter what. But I was also very surprised how well the music held up in that show.
Yeah, that show has a bunch of bangers. Like,
not even just that, just really creative musical sequences. Because I think they had a different animation studio do like every musical number on the show.
Yeah.
So like all the animation segments, like for all the musical segments, are like completely unique from one another per episode.
I remember when I was like really young, I thought the show was called Class of 3000 because it took place in the
You thought it took place in the future.
I'm just like, man, things really haven't gotten much different, have they? Yeah, if only.
I haven't watched the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatball show, nor do I really care.
Watched it.
Code Lyoko, I'm giving a C. I haven't watched it in a while, but I remember it being good, but I remember rewatching a couple episodes a few years ago. It's okay. I feel like it might get better later, but like from what I watched, I thought it was decent. I mean, it's something where the theme song is 10 times better than the show.
All I remember is the theme song.
Kids Next Door, my first hot take, D. Kids Next Door does not hold up, in my opinion. There are bits of it that do hold up, in my opinion. I think the villains are the best part. Anytime I watch it, I don't know, anytime I have ever watched it in the last couple years, I just can't get into it. And it's either, I think the characters, like certain characters are annoying, or I think the show is very tonally imbalanced. I think that's my biggest problem with the show, in that it either takes itself way too seriously, or I don't know. It just doesn't balance the serious and the comedy well to me.
Yeah,
like
one thing I have to question about this show is, how the hell is there a guy dressed as a vampire getting into people's houses
and spanking them?
Kids?
Which that has not aged well.
No,
Count Spankulon is like one of the, when I watched one episode a couple years ago when I did try to rewatch some of it, and that genuinely made me very uncomfortable watching the first episode with him.
That guy will be shot dead.
Oh my god, you could not get away doing a character like that now.
I remember there's one episode that actually had Guar as a musical guest.
I do remember, the cafeteria episode.
That's the sandwich.
The one thing from that show that I think that has held up well is Operation Zero, the TV movie.
Oh yeah,
that's the one Kids Next Door thing I have watched recently in the last couple years that I think does hold up pretty well. But I think it's also because that thing takes itself completely seriously for the most part, which I think is what makes that work as a special.
Yeah, I think from what I recall, it kind of I remember the show kind of gets juvenile, I guess.
That's kind of my problem, is that it gets very serious, but I just don't think the humor balances a lot of the time. Because it either gets too serious or it gets so stupid but still tries to take itself seriously that I think a lot of the humor gets lost in translation with its tone.
Mm-hmm.
To the point that a lot of the stuff that should be funny just doesn't come off funny. That, and also, again, there's a lot of annoying characters. I genuinely think most of the side characters on that show are obnoxious. Like, outside of the villains, I think most of the characters on that show just kind of annoy me.
I said Toilinator's the best villain.
Oh, Toilinator and Father are the two best characters on that show. I still go back. What gives me a boost of serotonin every time is I need to find it.
I get no, you're kidding.
You're super active.
I need to find my favorite bit from the entire show is just this one delivery from Maurice LaMarche. Let me check. I need to do this real quick. If it even, oh wait, I muted the thing.
And stuff. Go on, ask him something.
Say, 19th century kid, you want to watch a cartoon on the television?
That gives me a boost of serotonin every time I hear it.
On the television?
You want to watch a cartoon on the television? Oh my god. Anyway, Courage Cowardly Dog S.
Absolutely.
Again,
yes, yeah.
Courage is a show that was great as a kid and is another show that is so much better as an adult. It holds up so well because Courage doesn't feel juvenile. It's very weird. Like, it is juvenile to some extent, but it feels like it takes itself seriously in a way that works comparative to Kids Next Door. I mean,
Honestly,
tonally, it's two very different shows, but I think Courage balances serious and comedy a lot better, and I think Courage is genuinely one of the funniest shows Cartoon Network ever made at the same time.
Courage is the show that introduced me to horror, and I am eternally grateful to him.
It's not too scary. It's creepy, but it's not too scary. That's the other thing that I think works very well for Courage, is I think Courage is the perfect introduction to horror for children.
Yeah.
Because it's creepy, but I don't
villains,
think it's too scary.
It's got some villains that are genuinely disturbing, like, remember the zombie directors?
Oh yeah,
film?
Quentin Tarantino.
They want to make like a snuff film with Eustace and Muriel, and then there are some goofy ones like
The Beef. The Beef is creepy and funny.
Beef.
The Heads of Beef episode where Courage thinks that Eustace got
pig.
turned into hamburger.
Yeah, like he's like a comedy version of Professor.
Also shocked, like, very emotional, like, depressing episodes of that show. I think the Star Chaser episode is, like, one of my favorite episodes of any animated show.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, that one
the
was-
Star Chasers and the last episode with the flashback about Courage's parents.
Yeah,
that
that one-
that tears me up every time.
Mm-hmm.
As being sit in a rocket.
Cow and Chicken, I was not allowed to watch as a kid, so
They had an episode about lesbians.
oh
being
the
carpet-
band episode,
Yes, carpet
the
eaters.
carpet eaters.
Yes.
Anyway, I've never watched it. Not off the top of my head. I don't think I've ever watched an episode of Cow and Chicken in full.
Those are my favorites growing up.
Let's see. Craig of the Creek. Craig of the Creek is A. Craig of the Creek. I've said this on Twitter before. Craig of the Creek is everything Kids Next Door should have been, in my opinion. Because it has episodes that are tonally very similar to Kids Next Door, but it's able to balance the humor a lot better and not get too dark. Craig, it's also Craig. Oh my god, the characters in Craig are so good. I love that entire cast. It's so creative. It's so funny. I love the three main characters. I love just how weird all the side characters are. I love. It's like the perfect it's the perfect show to represent like a kid's backyard, like being an adventure show, because the whole show just takes place in the woods. But they've had so many creative ways to implement like hundreds of different characters throughout the show. Just all these weird, unique characters. I love that the entire forest is split up into factions, almost like it's a kingdom, like a fantasy kingdom. And I don't know, it's just fun. It's just very, very charming. It has a lot of that nostalgia that's very similar to what Clarence did.
I was just about to ask if it was similar to Clarence.
It is. It's similar to Clarence. I don't think humor-wise it's similar to Clarence, but I think in terms of a lot of childhood nostalgia, it's very similar to Clarence.
I never really gave this one a time of day either, because it was just kind of past
Oh,
my time.
I remember I watched some of it on HBO Max, and then I binged. I do not binge very often. I'm not someone who binges TV very often. I binged that show, I think, over 2 weeks on HBO Max. I watched like 4 or 5 episodes like a day. Like, I love that show. That is a great show. And I hope it's gotten the recognition it deserves. I know I've seen people talk about how much like they like it, but I genuinely think that deserves to be considered like one of the best Cartoon Network shows of the last like 10 years. Like, genuinely.
Like, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I do know it's one of the best that they've done lately.
And Cramp Twins, oh my god.
Ew.
I watched
It was not a good day for Gilbert Gottfried.
Cramp Twins?
Gilbert Gottfried? No, I'm probably thinking of somebody
I was gonna
else.
say, I don't remember Gilbert Gottfried on Cramp Twins. But I remember, I think I watched it on a whim a couple months back, because I was like, I have not thought about this show in like over 15 years. So I like watched an episode. That show is so obnoxious. It is so obnoxious. I'm honestly putting that in D, teetering on F.
It's enough for me, bro.
It's
Because
so
it made me like an idiot.
loud. It's so obnoxious. It's very mean-spirited. It's just not fun.
I'm gonna go grab something to eat real quick.
Alrighty.
Right.
I'll be back momentarily.
DC Superhero Girls. That's a B. It says a B, possibly a high B.
I would put it in C. Like, I only like the designs. Like,
I just think it's
footwear.
fun. Like,
I watched a lot of it, but I think wasn't Tara Strong
Not a
involved with
big
this
fan of it
somehow,
already.
or-
I mean, I don't like Tara Strong, but I like the show. I just think it's fun. I just
I
think
meant
it's
Lauren
fun.
Faust. That's
It's
what I meant,
also a
Lauren
very
Faust.
bingeable show, in my opinion. I like the
I was
characters.
thinking Lauren Faust, not Tara.
It's just that I'm burned out of high school. So.
But- It's all right. You know, I'd have a low B.
It's very charming. I like the characters. I like some of the directions they go with some of the superheroes and the supervillains. I think the animation's a lot of fun.
Boys are stupid. Anyways, girls are better.
Bertha.
I know, I know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's my issue with the show.
Oh yeah, okay.
That's what the show does a lot with the male superheroes, which is like,
Dexter's Lab. I'm between a B and a low A with Dexter's Lab. I don't know.
How I rank it? First 2 seasons definitely an A, bordering on an S at that time.
I'm gonna
But
put
then
it at
the
a high
third
B.
Season,
I'm gonna put it at like
it's definitely a C.
I'm gonna put it like a B plus, like a high B. Cause like I don't go back to Dexter's Lab a lot, but when I do really like it. It's very, very funny, especially for like one of the first Cartoon Network shows.
It was one of the first originals.
I think it was the
they did,
second.
like-
It was the second, wasn't it? It was
I
like
think
the.
may have
It was
been,
like the second
uh,
or the third original, I think, because I
'cause
know.
I think that and Johnny Bravo were around the same time. But,
Oh, it was
it was
that
because they were
Johnny
both
Bravo
on,
and Powerpuff Girls were like the big three.
Yeah, they were all three from the What a Cartoon Show.
Yeah, because they all came after Space Ghost and Moxie.
Yeah.
No, Dexter is a lot of fun. Like, again, that's another show that has comedy that's held up really, really well, especially with the Major Glory segments.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
the
god,
Justice Friends, my
the major
favorite.
the fucking Injustice Friends bits.
Fun fact: in the Chuck E. Cheese episode, there is a bit where
Where they fly.
the people fly. Yeah, they wrote like a note saying that they go off, meaning they just get like to the arcade or something. The animators misconstrued it as they fly away.
They fly
on
away,
stage.
and they
thought
thought,
even added
and
a sound effect.
when they got the footage back, they thought it was so funny they added a sound effect of them flying.
Decided to keep-
I have not watched the How to Train Your Dragon show, and I don't really care to watch it. Duck Dodgers is B, teetering on A. I really need to rewatch it. I hate that as a kid I didn't really watch it. I watched maybe like an episode or two, but I just never really found much interest in it, and I don't know why. I was a huge Looney Tunes kid. I don't know why I never cared to watch it. Because when I watched it for the first time, when I watched like a good 5 or 6 episodes, like back when I was like 19, I was laughing so hard. Like, I don't know why I did not keep up with that show. I really don't. And I'm kicking myself as a kid, like from when I was a kid.
It's a great show.
It's great.
One bit I remember is I think Dave Mustaine of Megadeth.
They had a lot of weird guest stars on that show.
That's just the one that comes to mind as a metalhead, so.
Ed Nettie, I'm gonna be honest, I guess another hot take, C. Ed Nettie is another show where I think it's funnier in YouTube clips than I think it's funnier in episodes, personally. Because also, Ed Nettie was another show I was not allowed to watch as a kid, so I also have no nostalgia for it, is the other problem.
For a show that was made as a dare by Danny Antonucci, who at that time had only done adult animation, dare for him to do a kid's cartoon,
I think that's fantastic that he just made that on a bet.
well-known work. Just as a bet, like that's probably the most successful bet he's ever made.
Yeah, no, Ed Nettie is just something where anytime I've actually watched episodes, I don't laugh a lot. Like, I'll laugh at bits, but I don't consistently laugh a whole lot at it. Which, again, I really wish I had a better connection to it, but again, I only think it's really funny in, like, compilations or, like, standalone clips more than anything.
Yeah. I will say the last movie they did was probably the best part of the show.
See, that's the funny thing, because I've watched Big Picture Show, and again, I feel the same way about Big Picture Show as I do the show. I think it's okay. Like, I don't know. I just have never really connected with it.
And I grew up with it, so I kind of know like a lot of the stuff about like they talk about how cool Eddie's brother was. Yeah, in the Big Picture Show, he just ends up being a big like a jerk ass.
Let's see. Evil Con Carne I have not watched since I was like 8, so I don't really have an opinion on it. Foster's is A. Foster's is A, teetering on S. Like, very close.
It's the last quote unquote cartoon.
Yeah, Foster's is another comfort show for me. I love Foster's so much. Like Foster, it's just nice. It's chaotic, but it's just very nice. Even if I hate
And it
Blue.
helps that, Well, it's funny because Blue was the same voice actor as Reaper in Overwatch.
If I had a fucking dollar for every time I've seen a tweet that said that, I would be a millionaire. I'm so tired of that tweet. I have seen that tweet so many times of same voice actor, and it's just Keith Ferguson, and I love Keith Ferguson, but please, people, pick other characters. I'm so tired of seeing Blue and Reaper next to each other.
It's funny.
It's not funny when you've seen it 30 times.
There's people
You know
that
what,
happen.
Bertha, you know what is funny?
That tweet goes fucking
Oh,
viral
you know
every
what's
time I
funny?
see it, and
It's
I've
'cause
seen
you're
it 30
active on
times.
Twitter.
Bertha, you want to know what is funny? I'm a hot toe picker.
I toe pick my toe. It's hot.
Toe picker.
The Garfield show, D. I do not like the fucking.
It's no
CG.
match to the original Garfield.
It's not even comparable to Garfield and Friends.
not even the same astral.
No, it's not even comparable. It's honestly just boring.
Eh.
Isn't it a French show, like animated?
Yeah,
like
it's
the
animated. It's animated in
stuff.
France. Generator Rex, I feel like I haven't watched enough of to get an opinion of. George of the Jungle, I have not seen in years. Green Lantern S. Green Lantern the animated series. Oh my god, I hate that show didn't last more than one season because that show is so criminally underrated.
Better than the movie.
Oh my god, that's like comparing an apple and a piece of dog shit. It's not even comparable. Like, Green
So I
Lantern, the
guess some
animated
sort of
series,
ironic
is one of the
joy.
best DC, and honestly one of the best superhero cartoons ever made. It is so good. Billy and Mandy, that's another S.
Oh yeah.
That-
fun fact though, buddy of mine actually made a puppet for Maxwell Adams.
Oh, I thought you were going to say he made the puppets for that one part of Big Boogie Adventure.
Oh no, he made a puppet for him. It was like a radioactive cockroach puppet. It's for an unrelated project, Mandy. Same guy, so.
Yeah, no. Grim Adventures is just kind of one of those shows that is, I just feel like there's nothing left to say about it other than it's so mean-spirited and it is so unapologetically cruel. It is so funny because of that. Like, especially for the time it was made, because there were no other... Courage was the last, like, during that period, that was, like, one of the only very dark comedy shows. And I think Grim Adventures is, like, during that period was pretty much the last for a long time. It was, like, Courage and Zim. Those were, like, during that period, those were the only two dark comedies at the time. And Billy and Mandy was, I think, one of the last for a long time for that period. And it lasted a long time. I think like 5 years and had like 3 movies.
Hmm. It's even like the ad campaign for Cartoon Network. The Yes from Fred Brothers.
Grim and Evil. I mean, it's Grim Adventures and Evil Con Carne, and I remember liking Evil Con Carne, and it's not peak Billy and Mandy. It's when Billy and Mandy was still trying to get its footing, so there's kind of some awkward beats to it, but it's still good. Masters of the Universe, the 2002, it's fantastic. That's like B teetering on A for me. It was able to modernize He-Man, but still keep a lot of the camp.
This was the show that actually introduced me to Masters of the Universe.
It's so
Like,
good. It's so good.
It came out in, like you said, 2002. I was probably like 9-10 years old, and I was like, this is cool. And then my dad, of all people, said, you know, he made a cartoon of that in the 80s. And then I watched it. It's like, I fell in love with the
Oh, as a kid, there was a a video store when I was a kid, and they had old VHS tapes of He-Man, and I used to watch those religiously as a kid. I loved He-Man. And then this came out, and the redesigns in this show were like my favorite redesigns they've ever done for the He-Man show. And I love the designs in Revelations, but these are like my favorite designs.
What I love about this show is that they took a lot of stuff from the toy line of the '80s that didn't make it in the show.
Oh yeah,
and
there's a
added
lot
it,
of
like
characters
Snake
that never
Man,
even appeared in the original show.
the Snake People for one, like a later addition in the toy line, and then they made them characters in the 2002 show.
Puffy Amiyumi. See, it's okay. That's another show that I think doesn't hold up great, but I think there is charm to it. It's okay. I think the music is better than the show.
Same.
I feel the same, but Kaz is the best character, bar none.
I Am Weasel. I wasn't allowed to watch. Infinity Train. Low A. I'd say a low A. I really like Infinity Train, but I think some seasons are a lot better than others to me. I think especially season 3, because I watched season 3 with a friend, and we both kind of had the same opinion of the first and second season are the best. The third season was probably our least favorite because the third season is a slog. And not that it's slow, it's that the third season is so depressing, it's like not even fun to watch. And I get that's the idea, but it was not entertaining. It just was really depressing. And it just kind of got to a point where it was just so depressing. We were just kind of like, can we just lighten this up a little bit? Like, just do something? Because this is just, from what we had in the first 2 seasons that like really balanced the dark shit with the fun shit, like this is just all depressing. And then season 4 happened, and season 4 was fun. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like Infinity Train's third season was just kind of the thing that brings it down a little bit for me. As much as I do really like it. Like, again, it's very... I am sad it's not going on anymore, because I feel like that show, in concept, could run for, like, 5 more seasons. It's a great idea.
We all know who to thank for that.
Yep. Johnny Bravo, A. Johnny Bravo... Like, during that late 90s period, Johnny Bravo was easily the funniest. Like, that was another show a couple years ago. Me and some friends watched a few episodes because we hadn't seen it in a long time. That show's fucking hysterical. Like, cry laughing funny. Like, I was shocked more than I think any of the old Cartoon Network shows I've gone back to. That was the one that probably surprised me the most in Class of 3000, because I was just kind of not expecting Johnny Bravo to hold up as well in concept. Holy shit. That show is easily the funniest show from that period of time.
I'd like to put it out there that I'd like to think in my head, Johnny's a closet furry, because 2 dates I know that he had in the show were
animals,
werewolf
yeah,
and a literal deer. So
yeah, the
he's
two
a canonical
animals.
Furry.
Johnny Test. Let's see. I think it's fine. Like, I don't know. Johnny Test has never bothered me like it did for a lot of people. I think it's fine. Like, I don't know. Anytime I have gone back to it, I'm like, it's mildly entertaining. Like, I don't know. It doesn't bother me as much as it did a lot of other people.
I think for what it's supposed to be, it works. Only reason I even watched it was because of I think Scott Fellows was the guy who created it.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, it's the guy who made Ned's
he
Declassified, which is one of the best shows Nickelodeon ever made.
And he and Mark Weiner did Weinerville in the 90s for Nickelodeon. So that's how they got Mark in an episode of Ned's Declassified.
Oh yeah, because I was wondering that. Because I know Mark Weiner is like a legacy guy at Nickelodeon, and he's popped up in a few shows. So I just kind of assumed that was the reason he was on Ned's Declassified.
He had a show in the mid-90s that was just all the puppet stuff.
Yeah,
and
Weinerville. Let's see. Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, that's S. That's easily that's like my favorite of the DC animated shows next to Teen Titans.
I put it up there with Batman the Animated Series. It's the best superhero cartoon ever made.
Yeah, no, I'm going to tone down talking a bit because, again, we still have a lot. So, and we're an hour 15 in. So,
Okay.
Justice League Action B. Really fun. Really, really, really fun. Again, I hate that Cartoon Network fucked that show over so badly. Crypto, haven't watched it in a long time. Remember it being okay. League of Super Evil is a low B. It's fun. I think it's fun. I like the 4 leads. I think that's the 4 leads chemistry is what really saves the show, even though I think the show's not super funny. I think it's entertaining enough. And again, the lead character is the best part of the whole show. He's hysterical. Juniper Lee, I never watched because I never cared. Maybe it's good. I don't know anyone that's really talked about it the last few years, so I don't really know if it holds up or not.
Never watched it.
I just know that at the time there was this controversy where, because Jake Long and that show came out around the same time, and they both had very eerily similar premises.
Yeah, everyone thought it was a knockoff.
Well,
right?
I remember somebody had like contacted the creator, I think of Juniper Lee, and had asked him if that was intentional, and I think he had said it was just pure coincidence that both shows came out around the same time.
It's a little Rabbit Rhapsody Cat Concerto thing.
Well, the Rabbit Rhapsody thing is a whole nother rabbit hole. Ha ha ha. I didn't even intend that pun. It just came out. But
I have returned.
We've ranked quite a bit more since you were gone, but we still have probably like half left.
All right.
Long Live the Royals. I never watched it. It was one of those miniseries that came out after Over the Garden Wall, and I don't know anyone that watched it.
I liked it.
Never heard of it.
Looney Tunes Show, A. Looney Tunes Show is fucking great. It is so good.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's such an ambitious show. Like,
It's
I
for
remember
the
people got their panties in a wad.
Yeah, no, I think making the Looney Tunes suburban, I think, worked better than I think it should have.
Mm-hmm.
Is it made it very, very Seinfeldy. That's like the best way I can compare that show.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's the best version of Lola they've made.
Yes, no, that's not even questionable.
Undoubtedly, yeah.
Mad? It's okay. It's a lot like Robot Chicken, where some segments are better than others. Mau Mau, B. It's decent. I don't think comparable to like other short form shows that were on at the time. I'd say it's probably one of the lesser ones, but I did like it I did like it when we watched it.
Very silly.
Flapjack, that's A. Flapjack is a lot like Courage, but if you made it more like if you made Courage less horror but still made it fucked up.
I thought this in the same level as Chowder because they came out. The same
Well, yeah,
time.
I call Chowder and Flapjack kind of like brother and sister shows in a way because they both came out like a few months apart, and they were like the last two big animated shows. Yeah, no, Flapjack is also very, very, very funny. And also both shows have a blue skin character that's the best character on the show.
Oh my god! I was.
I'm 38 years old.
Wait, I need.
It's the best joke.
I need the dog. I need the dog.
The dog is the best joke in the
I
whole
need the
show.
dog.
You might have Flap and the rich lady under your spell, but it's gonna take more than that to impress me.
Best joke in the whole show, ladies and gentlemen. Even bother watching the rest. It's at the peak.
Oh, what's this? Megas X. Megas XLR is an S. Holy shit. Megas XLR is like one of the funniest action shows ever made. Holy shit.
People want to talk about tax write-offs.
That is like one of the most high energy, violent, chaotic action shows I have ever seen. It is so funny. It is so fast-paced. The action is fantastic, and it has fucking amazing voice acting. It is so good. Oh my god, if there was any Cartoon Network show I wish had a DVD, it's Laszlo and Megas. I wish those two shows had physical media so badly. Mighty Magiswords? B teetering on A. No, I'll give it an A. I think Magiswords is very, very underappreciated because I don't know. Magiswords is a comfort show. I really, really like Mighty Magiswords.
Hey, like it's good. It is also it's very fast.
Oh, that's one of the reasons I like it so much. Is that it's a show where I've said if a joke doesn't work in 5 seconds, there's probably going to be a better joke. Like Mighty Magiswords is like lightning comedy. There is so like the dialogue is so snappy, the jokes are so fast. Like if one joke doesn't work, I can guarantee at least like 6 or 7 others are gonna work really well in an episode. Like I really, really like that show. Also, I love the art style. I think that's one of my favorite Cartoon Network art styles.
I wish it had it wasn't very static with the shapes, but otherwise, like it's really good.
Mike Lewinog, I never cared about even as a kid. I never even heard of Mixels till like 5 years ago. Moxie, I have never actually watched. And isn't Moxie one of those shows that's kind of hard to find?
It's a lot of it's lost media.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think a lot of the episodes aren't even available.
It was actually kind of an interesting concept. That this was really
wasn't it kind of like Mystery Science Theater-y a little bit, something like that.
It kind of was like it was a lot of the early shows on Cartoon Network that weren't originals, like say Two Stupid Dogs, being a TBS thing or whatever. They were basically as vehicles to show cartoons. Like this was one of them. I think it was Bobcat Goldthwait as the voice
it was
of
Bobcat Goldthwait and Penn Jillette were the two leads, and then I think Penn Jillette later got replaced by Chris Rock.
But it was basically just a vehicle to show like classic cartoons. Same thing with a lesser known show, Carrot Top's Mayhem in the AM.
I didn't even know Carrot Top had a cartoon show.
He did. It wasn't a cartoon show, but again, it was just like
was it like a hosting thing?
Hosting thing.
Was this pre Heavy Plastic Surgery Carrot Top?
This was like early 90s, like 93.
Okay,
90.
so this was like pre Heavy Plastic Surgery, extra 70 pounds of muscle Carrot Top.
Yes, he was still a string bean.
Looked like a bootleg Weird Al Yankovic.
Yes.
With
In
red
fact,
hair.
I thought it was Weird Al as a kid, but nope.
Mucha Lucha, I have not seen in years. I'm kind of scared to go back to it after watching the movie a few years ago because the movie was awful.
Yeah,
It's
that
okay.
was a thing.
I remember liking it a lot as a kid, but again, I haven't seen it since I was probably like 10 or 11.
I have good memories.
My Gym Partner's a
I
Monkey
kinda
is a
like it
D.
anyway.
Oh, yeah.
That was one of those shows that I went back to when we were doing those watch sessions that does not hold up. It
First
really does
season
not.
was ass. Literally ass. I'm not saying that to insult it. Like, it was just monkey ass.
It's just, I don't know. It's just a lot of boring juvenile humor. I don't know. There's not much to it other than a lot of the juvenile humor from what I watched.
And there are some good gems. Like one joke was one of the teachers was covering himself in mud and said, "Oh, this is how you protect yourself from predators." And there's like an actual predator in the classroom.
Like that's the thing. There are jokes I remember. Hell, there's one line that Jake says that to this day I still say it sometimes, and I don't know why. I just love the way he says it. I forget what episode it is. It's when I just remember the scene is Adam is like climbing a rope or something, and Jake is like hanging off of his leg, and I just remember Adam says something like, "Let go of me, Jake," and Jake just goes, "Never!" And just the way Jake yells "never," I don't know why I quote that so much, and I don't know why I remember that line delivery so much.
Because it's Tom Kenny, that's why.
Ninjago, never watched. It's shockingly long run. Shocking. That show ran over 10 years.
Like,
okay.
Decent.
Okay, KOS.
The first
Yes.
level.
I regret not watching this when it was on.
OKKO is another thing like Craig of the Creek and Mighty Magic Swords, where it's a comfort show for me, and it's super bingeable. Like, that's a show where anytime I've ever watched OKKO, I watch like 4 or 5 episodes at a time. I never watch just one.
We were talking Kennedy earlier. They did a Kennedy send-up in one episode, didn't they?
Yeah. I know actually what you're talking about. It was like an ending joke that they did. But, like, I don't know. Like, again, OKKO is just a show that's it's just fun. Again, it's a lot like Mighty Magic Swords or Craig or Camp Lazlo. It's just fun. It's just colorful. I like the characters. It's fun. Over the Garden Wall is another S. That's like one of the best things Cartoon Network has ever made. Holy shit. It's so good. Like, to me, that's another thing like Courage, where I think that's a great gateway to horror for kids. Though Over the Garden Wall is much more like fairy tale storybook-ish than it is a comedy. Ozzy and Drix, I give that a B. I like the Osmosis Jones movie, and that was kind of another show that I went back to a couple years ago because I wanted to see if it was comparable to the film. Gotta be honest, it's a good follow-up. It's a pretty decent show, honestly. I mean, I think the setup to the show is bullshit, but because it kind of puts a very depressing light to the end of the movie.
Oh yeah, we're freaking.
Yeah, Frank is now even more unhealthy than he was at the end of the movie. And I forget what happens. I know that they're chasing another version of the Scarlet Fever like Thrax. And they end up getting ejected out of Frank's body and end up in another person. It's like this teenager. And I remember I just assumed Frank died because they never explain what happened to him after they leave his body. So, Powerpuff, B teetering on A. Powerpuff's another one that, again, it's a show that it's a legacy. Its legacy is something that I don't really know what else I can say about it, really. Again, it's just
We're
fun.
talking about the original, right?
Yeah, no, it's the original.
Show.
It's just fun. It's just fun. I like the characters. The villains are great. I like the 3 leads. I don't know, it's just fun. It's just a really fun, creative show. It's just kind of something where I don't know what else can really be said about Powerpuff Girls. It's a lot like Johnny Bravo or Dexter. Reboot D. No, wait, no, F.
Show.
Yeah, F.
F. Going back to Powerpuff Girls, they had a send up of Reboot in one episode, didn't they?
Powerpuff has had like 3 revivals. It's weird because there was the series finale, which came out in 2009. Then there was that Dance Pants special, which I don't know where the fuck that came from, in like 2013. And then there was the 2017 show.
Then there's an anime, and then I guess CW.
Oh yeah, and then Powerpuff Girls Z. I forgot about that one. And now they're doing a new one with Gendy. Or not Gendy, Craig. I connect Gendy and Craig so much because they did so much together. Problem Solvers, never watched it. Don't care to watch it ever. Regular show, I haven't watched a shit ton of it, but I'll give it a B. I have really liked what I've seen of it. Robot Boy, I barely remember. I remember as a kid, I didn't really care for it. Robotomy, B. Robotomy is one of the most underrated things Cartoon Network has ever made. I really, really hate that thing only lasted like 10 episodes. Like 10, 11 episodes. That's another show in a very similar vein to Zim. It's very, very chaotic and honestly, very, very, very violent. But it's also robots, so they can be as violent as they want with it.
And it runs with lobotomy.
Samurai Jack is S. Again, kind of a show that I don't know what else you can say about it. Mystery Inc., that's an A. The best Scooby-Doo show ever made. Holy shit. Like, holy shit. Secret Mountain Fort, awesome. Never watched, nor do I care. Secret Saturdays, I haven't seen in a really long time, but I remember liking it. Same with Sheep in the Big City. Skunk Fu, I remember being okay, but again, haven't watched it in years. Sonic Boom, I'll give a B. Again, it's fun. I think it's just a fun show. There's not really a lot to say about it. I just think it's fun. I like that it's a lot more sitcom-y than straight action. Space Ghost Coast to Coast, I haven't watched enough of it. Squirrel Boy, it's I give a D. That was another show that I remember me and Steph and like a couple guys went back and rewatched a few episodes, and it doesn't hold up that great.
Yeah, it's I remember nothing about it, honestly.
I remember hating the main characters so much.
Clone Wars? I'd give it a low A. The 2003 Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It's funny because I actually never watched that in full until a few years ago, even though I'm a very big Star Wars fan. Again, it's good. I think it's very, very good. It's not heavy plot-wise for a lot of it. A lot of it is action, but I think the action is some of the best action that's ever been on Cartoon Network, which is one of the big draws of it, is that the action is awesome in that show because it's constant fighting. The whole thing is lightsaber fights and war zones and like speeder bike battles, and it's honestly most of it is just an excuse, I think, for Genndy to just have a lot of cool shit in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah.
Just a lot of cool fight scenes.
Yeah.
Which I mean, it's cool. It's really, really cool.
Indeed it is.
Also, it's the introduction of Grievous, so that's also a huge point for me.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the 2008 Clone Wars, which, in my opinion, is the best animated show ever made. I fucking love that show. I cannot praise that show enough. It is like everything I love in a show. Like everything. And also it expands on one of my favorite franchises. So...
that show is so fucking good. Like, I remember years ago, I just, binged, all the seasons that were out at the time in, a month.
Oh, no, that's a show where, again, anytime I watch it, I watch, 3 episodes at a time. 3 or 4. It's so... It's, it expands on the franchise in the best possible way that a show should. It makes you get more out of the characters that you might not have gotten from the films. And also it does something that I think some people can agree was a hard thing to do. It took a lot of the elements of the prequels and actually made them good. And not just good, fucking great.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah.
It was one of those I feel like it's the show, I'd say it started off good, but it just kept getting better with
Oh no, it's a show that gets better with every season. Let's see. Static Shock, I'll give a B. I rewatched the whole thing a couple years ago with a friend. And I liked it. It's not great. I remember really liking it as a kid. I don't think it's one of the best DC shows, but I do think it's a very good show. And honestly has a lot of really... a lot of DC shows have dark elements, but that show touches on a lot of shit that a lot of other DC shows didn't really touch on. Real world shit.
It was ahead of its time.
Oh, no. There's a lot of shit in that show that's very ahead of its time. The gun violence episode, I think, is one of the best episodes of a superhero show I've ever seen. Because it doesn't... It treats the bullying in that episode very realistically. It doesn't make it over the top, or it doesn't make it to a point where it feels unrealistic. It feels like genuine real world like bullying, like what, like this could happen to a real kid, like being bullied to a point where they get driven to do something like that. And sadly, the last 25 years, that's happened several times.
Uh-huh.
So,
Yeah.
Steven Universe, that's an S.
Yay!
Again, it's another thing where this Steven Universe is kind of a hard show to talk about because of how many opinions there are of that show.
Yeah, hot take. I was not a big fan of this one, although it does have its moments. A buddy of mine got me to watching some of it a while back, and I can see why people like it. It's just not for me. Although I do find the joke about okay, so someone did like a reanimation of the steamed hams, and then did a bit with bit that was referencing Steven Universe and had like Skinner's character design changed once in the same scene. And it was like talk about the inconsistent character designs in the show. Apparently, they don't use model sheets. They never did.
Oh, are you talking about the people who would talk about the off-model shit?
Yeah, it was just kind of a joke. That's really the extent of like the jokes of the show that I know of.
The animation
joke,
discourse with that show never bothered me. Well, not the discourse, but like the with the off-model shit. It never bugged me because
bother me. I just thought it was a fun joke.
It never to me. It didn't bother me because it didn't really affect anything about that I liked about the show. So
It did for me.
I respect people who like it, but I just can't. I just can't get into it.
I mean,
if
it's
you like
also
it,
something I don't think about most times, so it didn't bother me.
No, I'm just saying that with this show, I don't
think
care
it
too much about
hurt.
it, but I'm not someone who rides in hatred whenever someone.
I don't know. Like again, it's one of those things where I like the world that it's set up. I love the characters. I love how I love really lore-wise how far it goes the further the show goes, especially with a lot of the character dynamics. Stormhawks, I have not fucking thought about Stormhawks in like 15 years. So Summer Camp Island, I've never cared to watch. Sunday Pants, I haven't watched in like 15 years. SWAT Cats, I've only seen like 2 episodes. Okay, this is just the lightning round of things I haven't seen. Symbionic Titan. Symbionic Titan, I'll give a B, like a high B. It's really good, and I really hate that show got killed on a fucking cliffhanger. I really do, and it's a depressing ass cliffhanger. Again, it's one of those things where I sound like a broken record. I like the leads. I like the world. I like that it's not really a kid's show. Like it has stuff that kids could watch, but there's a lot of stuff in it that I'd feel it's much more for like teens and older audiences than it is a kid's show. Teen Titans Go, I'll give that like a C. It's fine. I think it's sporadically funny. I don't really watch it a whole lot, but I've watched it on occasion, and I think it's fine. Teen Titans is an S. Like, Teen Titans was like one of the few action shows that was mostly serious, that had comedy elements that I would watch as a kid. Because as a kid, I didn't watch a lot of action shows because I didn't like shows that weren't funny. Or like shows that didn't have funny things in them. So I didn't watch Justice League or Superman or things like that as a kid. Like, if I watched an action show, it was something like Mucha Lucha, Shaolin Showdown, Static Shock, Jackie Chan Adventures, or Ben 10. It was shows that were funny and had action in them. So that was just kind of one of those things where Teen Titans was like the only show that I watched that had dark elements and serious moments to it, but also had funny things in it. And I think of those shows, Teen Titans is the best in terms of balancing action and comedy. Because holy shit, that show gets fucking dark. Like, darker than to a point where I'm actually surprised they were allowed to do certain things dark. Like the fucking episode with Slade, like, mentally fucking with Robin the entire episode. Let's see. Thundercats 2011, I'll give a B. Good, really, really good reboot. Really good reboot. Again, better than the original show. And also, another show that was killed and wasn't allowed to continue after a cliffhanger. And it's, again, depressing as shit, because it's a cliffhanger where a lot of shit was starting to build up. And they just killed it right before they even fought the big bad. The big bad of the show's barely in it, is the other thing. Mumra, like, they were clearly building up to having Mumra be a bigger character, and he's barely in the show. His fucking henchmen are in the show more than he is. Tig and Seek, I never watched. Time Squad, I need to rewatch. Total Drama, I'll give a B. If we're going off the original Total Drama, because after that, I dropped off. I watched some of Action, and I think I watched a little bit of World Tour, but the only show I kept up with was the first one. And the original Total Drama, to me, is the one that I think was done the best. Because Action wasn't bad, but it didn't hook me enough to stick with it. Same with World Tour. I think I just liked that ensemble the most for the original Total Drama.
This wasn't my thing either.
Redonkulous Race, I haven't watched. Dramarama, I refuse to watch.
like the
Totally
race.
Spies, I don't like. So
It's fetish fueled TV show.
I don't even know if that's a hot take or not, honestly, because I feel like I know a lot of people that like Totally Spies, and I know a lot of people that don't like Totally Spies.
I did, and I have a cringy photo of me trying to cosplay. It's fucking Pulver.
Aw.
It's cringy.
Like, I mean, I've talked about this before. I'm not really big into spy shit. That's just my other thing. Like, spy stuff to me is just boring, and also I just think the show is really, really annoying. Like, I don't know. It's a lot. Like, the three leads just annoy the shit out of me more than anything. And again, I don't know. Spy stuff just does not hook me. It just has never interested me that much. Like James Bond and Mission Impossible, and just, I don't know. It's like that one action genre that I just can't get into. Transformers Animated, I'll give a B. It's, again, good show. Not my favorite Transformers show, but I think it's fun.
I think, like, I was there when...
Yeah,
like,
you watched the whole show with us.
Yeah, it was really freaking good.
I'd say it's probably my favorite Transformers art style, but it's also Derek J. Wyatt, who is, like, one of my favorite artists. So, I mean, this is the same guy who did the character designs for Ben 10 Omniverse and Teen Titans. So...
Hell yeah.
Uncle Grandpa, I've barely watched. Uncle Grandpa's a weird show where I remember everyone hated it and now everyone loves it.
I was a cringy child that was obsessed with Uncle Grandpa.
Like, everything I've ever known about Uncle Grandpa is that everyone hated it when it came out, and now everything I know is that a lot of people like it.
I'm glad
I
changed.
should have given this show a chance when it came. There's two things
You
I
should have.
remember. Ric Flair did a cameo in one episode as himself, and then there was the bit with like the Uncle Grandpa album, like a death metal "Please Pass the Mustard."
I love the crossover with Steven Universe.
Oh, that's the only episode I've seen, basically.
What?
I've watched like one normal episode of Uncle Grandpa, and I watched that episode of Steven Universe.
Oh.
It's not canon. Unikitty, really good. Really, really good. I really like Unikitty. That was another show I watched when I had a very depressive slump in December of 2018. When I was binging Mighty Magiswords, I also started binging Unikitty, and I really, really liked that show.
Super underrated show.
Really good. Like, again, a show that had no reason to be as good as it is. It could have just been a lazy ass, like, cash grab spin-off of the Lego Movie, but it tried way harder than it needed to.
I just love the animation.
Oh, it's so colorful, and it's so funny, and it's so fast-paced. Victor and Valentino. I've seen enough of it where I could give it like a C. I think it's okay. I haven't watched a lot of it, but I'd say I've watched enough of it to give it a rating. Villainous, I've barely watched. We Bare Bears, I'll give a B. It's just charming. I just like it. It's just cute. What a Cartoon. What a Cartoon is kind of impossible to rank. Because it's not a show. It's like a collection of shorts.
It's a collection of shorts, some of which became series for Cartoon Network and laid the foundation for the cartoon. And some of them were just showcases of as genuinely good animators. Like, one of my favorite cartoons in the whole What a Cartoon was a Sledgehammer Opossum, a Pat Ventura production. And he's done a few shorts for What a Cartoon. It was Yucky Duck, it was Sledgehammer, and I think he brought back George and Jr. from the Tex Avery days. And I just loved his sort of frenetic, sort of sketchbooky style. Like, it was like Ren and Stimpy, but done better.
I mean, I like What a Cartoon, but again, it's just something where I don't really feel fair judging it. Whatever Happened to Robot Jones, I haven't seen in over 20 years. What's New Scooby-Doo? D. I do not like What's New Scooby-Doo. I'm honestly thinking of giving it F. Honestly, I really don't like What's New Scooby-Doo. It bores the shit out of me. Like, I don't.
The best part.
That was during that era of Scooby-Doo where I just didn't like anything that was coming out of Scooby-Doo during that period of time. Like, that was during that period of time where I think all the straight-to-DVD movies had fallen off. Like, it was everything after Alien Invaders just went to shit. Like, I don't know. I do not like that show, and I just think it's very, very dull, even for the worst of Scooby-Doo. I just think What's New is just really boring and just not interesting to watch, and it's not funny. It's really not funny. As a kid, I tried watching it several times because I really liked Scooby-Doo, but I just never liked it. Also, God, I hate the color palette of that show so much. God, I hate it.
The only thing I like about the show, I know I said the theme song's the best part.
Oh, the theme song is easily the best part.
Something even funnier has nothing to do with the actual show. Jerma, a streamer, played this song while playing Car Pal once and had the Mystery Machine, and he was playing it as he was driving like a maniac, and all I associate with the show now.
I remember from what I remember about What's New Scooby-Doo, I'm just thinking back, I'm just man, that was the most I guess generic fucking.
That's the thing.
Ever.
That's the best word to describe it. It's just generic. There's nothing about it that stands out compared to some of the other Scooby-Doo shows. I don't know. Also, again, God, I hate the color palette of that show. There is no sense of lighting or shading in that show. There's shading, but even when they're in a dark cave, everything is bright. It annoys the shit out of me every time I see scenes of them in dark places and everything is bright.
This brings nothing to the table.
No, it really doesn't. And yet, for some reason, it lasted 4 years. Shaolin Showdown, I loved as a kid, but I have not sat down and watched it for years. So, I don't know. It might hold up, it might not. I really don't know. Young Justice, that's going in S. That's, one of the best DC animated shows ever made. I'd honestly say, top 3. Annoying Orange, the show. D. I don't know. I've never hated the Annoying Orange, but the show I felt added too much that wasn't needed.
Mm-hmm.
Annoying Orange to me has never bothered me. In fact, I think honestly Annoying Orange is pretty okay. At least the older stuff is okay. I don't know. I think it's because Danebo was the first channel I ever subscribed to, so I just have this I don't know. I just have always thought a lot of his stuff had charm to it.
Yeah, it's got all I guess 2000s like YouTube charm to it.
Yeah, no, that's the other thing, is
Yeah.
that it just kind of has
It makes me nostalgic.
Yeah.
A little bit for like old YouTube, but is this Annoying Orange is in general, whether it's this show or anything else? He's good in small doses.
That's the other
the
thing.
original
Annoying Orange,
story
I
is the
think, only
joke.
works as like 2 or 3 minutes.
He was never intended to be a full-fledged show. That's my biggest problem.
Hero 108, I never watched. Thundercats Roar, give a C. It's okay. Like, I don't
Did
think
this show even ever air?
Yeah, it aired. It aired for like a year, and then it got canceled.
I thought it got canceled like almost immediately as they were gonna air it because
No.
of the backlash.
No, it aired. It aired with like next to no announcement in like January of I think 2020 or 2021. And then it got canceled like 4 months after airing because they didn't advertise it at all. Batman the Animated Series, S. Same with Superman. Those are both, again, they're like the quintessential, like when you think of best superhero cartoons, they're like the top ones. Superman, I go back and forth on which one I like more, but I want to say I like Superman a teeny bit more. But I mean, they're both great. It's something where, again, there's not much you can really say that hasn't already been said about them. I haven't watched that. Haven't watched We Baby Bears. Jellystone, I'll give a B teetering on an A.
It's an A for me.
Well, one, it was able to take the Hanna-Barbera characters that have been mostly completely underutilized in the last 15 years and is able to completely reinvent them in a way that I think they work for modern cartoons. And also, it's C.H. Greenblatt, so it's gonna be good.
For me, what I loved about it is that they actually gave a lot of otherwise bland Hanna-Barbera characters.
They gave them so much
personality.
They gave a lot of these characters that were like super one note so much character. Like,
That was like my biggest problem with Hanna-Barbera was just they had such a glut of characters that were essentially just a palette swap or a design swap of another character.
well, yeah, because it was
They
cheap.
just made them all. Yeah, it was cheap animation for the '60s, but is this they actually made them unique? And yeah, there were a few gender swaps here and there that I think worked. I know that was like a big problem that came out was like folks were upset that like Augie was a girl now, or Squiddly Diddly was a girl, or Jabberjaw was a girl. You know, it's like who the fuck cares?
Oh, that's kind of I remember I tweeted around the time that happened. I had said, tell me right now if you even remember the name of these characters before people started caring about them. Tell me right now how many people know Loopy D Loop. How many fucking people know who the hell Loopy D Loop is in this day and age? Loopy D Loop or Mildew Wolf or characters like that. I'm like, it's like when they announced that Leatherhead in the new Ninja Turtles movie is gonna be a woman, and there were some people bitching about it. I'm like, who the fuck cares that much about Leatherhead that they care if their gender's changed? It's not like it's important to the character that they're a dude. Like, I don't know. Again, Jellystone is just a really fun show. And again, I really like that they were able to take a lot of these characters, a lot of characters that haven't been used in over 40 years, and just able to reinvent them in a way that they work with a lot of modern cartoon sensibility. The Fungies I've never watched. Steven Universe Future, I'll put in A. No, yeah, that's it. This went a lot longer than I thought it was going to. So if we do a Nickelodeon or a Disney one, it's going to have to be for another stream because we've been doing this for almost 2 hours. So thank you for the people who showed up. Oh, shit. Nope, James died.
No, James.
James's connection died right as we were ending.
Oh.
Yeah, no. For those that came, thanks for joining. I don't know when. I might do a stream for a Nickelodeon show ranking tomorrow, or I might do it Wednesday. Well, yeah, no, we'll do that, and then we'll do Disney, and maybe on one of those days we'll also do like a bracket fight. But yeah, no, thank you for coming, everyone. Have a good rest of